This is the first of three talks that we have coming up this fall quarter. So thanks for coming out, and also we are videotaping this talk and plan to tape the other talks as well and make that available online, either on YouTube or Aggie Video for those of you viewers who couldn't make it. Welcome. Well, first of all, I would like to thank Fuchan Zhuo, who is behind the camera there, for all of his coordination and helping coordinate and put this together, as well as the upcoming talks this quarter. And also, I don't think she's here, but I wanted to say welcome to our new lab assistant director and laboratory coordinator, Mary Ryan, who is joining us this year for the first time to help set everything up here. Okay, and well, it gives us great pleasure to begin our talks this series with Robert Blake, who is a distinguished professor of Spanish emeritus at UC Davis, here, one of our own. And he has had a demonstrated interest in technology as a means of fostering language learning for quite some time. He's the author of many articles on topics in Spanish applied linguistics, and he is co-author of Brave New Digital Classroom, which is now out in its third edition by Georgetown University Press, most recently in 2020. And this is an introduction to the field of computer-assisted language learning, or CALL, as it's known. Dr. Blake has also helped author materials, many materials, for the UC Spanish, Arabic, and Punjabi online courses, as well as Coursera's first-year Spanish course that has reached over 200,000 users worldwide to date. He was director of the UC Language Consortium from 2000 to 2010, and also director of the Davis Language Center here, which is where we are, for many, many years. In 2004, he was elected as a member of the North American Academy of the Spanish Language. So he is joining us today, and he's going to talk to us about ChatGPT, or 1984, a primer for L2 teachers. Thank everyone for coming.
Thank you, Travis. It's always a pleasure to be introduced by someone who's not only your colleague of many years, but one of your best friends. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And Carly Arnett's not here, but she's also involved in making this happen, so I thank her, as well as, of course, my comrade in arms, Fuchan Zhuo, always. I spent many years in this space, and it's nice to see now the space is totally renovated. The Davis Language Center now has 3 of these active classrooms. And if you haven't had an occasion to teach in here, I hope you get an occasion. All you have to do is sign up, right? Because this is controlled by the Davis Language Center, not by the registrar. So sign up and enjoy yourself. You know, there's a lot of creative things that you can do in this space. Well, today we're going to talk about something that's not in my book at all, because it's a fairly recent thing, and that's the advent of ChatGPT, and in general these LLMs, or large language models, that are starting to invade us. And whether you like it or not, it's probably impossible to stop the invasion. The invasion is complete. And so that's why I also titled this, or are we going back to 1984? Are we really in trouble here? And I'll address that at the beginning, and then I'm going to move on and really talk about some more pedagogical issues, rather than just trying to. I'll explain a little bit how this ChatGPT works, but there are other people who are more qualified. There are other articles. I'll point you in the direction. if you want more technical information. But I'm going to try and talk about, you know, what am I going to do with it? I'm a language teacher. What am I going to do with it? Should I even be interested in it? And of course, my talk is all built around the fact that yes, you should be interested in it. So you better find out about it, because this is going to hit our profession, and we're going to need to know what to do. I call it a primer, which is a little footnote here. A primer is an introduction, not a workshop. And I certainly do think that for a future date, there should be more workshops about how to write prompts for ChatGPT. And I think they should, some of them should be language specific. I think that would be a really neat thing if there was some follow-up here. And it may be one of you who actually lead that workshop, because you get your feet and your hands and your whole body into it, and you figure out how to best use these new tools for teaching language. Okay, I'm happy to take questions at all times. If the question is too involved, I won't answer it, and I'll table it for after. But go ahead and, as you're munching, ask your questions. So, is it 1984 all over again? Or as Yogi Berra used to say, deja vu all over again? You know, it's upsetting, isn't it? Because there's no there. You know, there's this, the ChatGPT seems to answer you from like a voice from God, you know? It's a faceless authority, and that's upsetting. And so I think we should all be concerned about that, and pay a little attention to that, because there is a lack of control right now. And I also put on the other side, there's also right now a tremendous lack of good judgment, which is something that, it's another talk, it's another time, but quite frankly, we have to start to get into the business of teaching good judgment, because we need it in order to deal with these tools that appear faceless and out of our control. We need good judgment in them so that we can make the decisions, put the decision making back in our ballpark. One of the problems with it at the moment is that in order to get one of these things to work, you need vast resources. And so that means governments, mega companies like Google, crime syndicates, yes, and Elon Musk. So this is what generates the fears, and it's pretty natural to feel, you know, is Big Brother watching us? So these are not unusual feelings to have. So this definitely is going to need watching, and it's going to need some form of restraint and control. There's no doubt about it. However, in the ultimate, the final kind of analysis, what we are going to have to exercise is good judgment. And especially as teachers and as students, that's what we're going to have to develop and know how to use these tools with good judgment. So, cheating. All right, now I'm getting really down. I'm drilling down into our interests in our bailiwick, the university. And it's really easy to cheat. But let me restate that. It's really easy to copy and paste with ChatGPT. Okay, so what that's going to mean is that from now on, and I mean from now on, certain activities that we used to do before are probably out. Like take-home exams. If you want any control anymore, I think you have to forget that. You have to come up with a different system. And it's probably going to mean performing in the classroom at the assigned you know, time of the exam. A performance, which I'm sure is going to increase the anxiety and the counseling services and all of the concessions and things that we've had to deal with recently. But you know, it's going to be impossible to control that if you send a take-home exam home. There's no way to control it, and people are going to copy and paste, and there's no way around it. Sometimes, many times, because of your experience, You'll be able to catch it. It'll be very obvious because you all have tremendous experience with reading your students' compositions. But then, right, that gets us into the whole thing of judicial affairs and adjudicating, and it's a mess. So you're going to have to change some of the things, some of the assignments that you're coming up with.
I just have a comment. There was a period that there were, when I was undergraduate, I never had a take-home exam. Everything had to be done, pencil and paper with a typewriter, so yeah.
There's going to be some changes there. And that's just life. And I don't think we can put that genie back in the bottle. Okay, that's out. All right, what is ChatGPT? There are a lot of things like it. I'm using this one name, ChatGPT. But look at some of the ones I copied there, but they're about 30 or more, and they're proliferating every day. So there's also Google Bard, it's doing the same thing. There's also ChatSonic, MS, Bing, Jasper, Copilot, and God knows how many other names that I don't know about, okay? And in 3 months, there'll be 20 more, okay? So they're all based on what is called an LLM, a large language model. And that's goops, oodles, gobs of data, okay? And then really what's happening is you are performing a search on this data. So it's internet information mining, but on steroids. Really, really heavy stuff. That goes back to the resources. You have to have a lot of resources in order to have a system like this. So what these machine learning models are doing is they'll take a small bit of input and then they'll predict the text that might come next. And that's how they understand, in quotes. I'm giving you an MIT article there, and I'll give the PowerPoint presentation over to Fuchan so that if you want it, you can get it and download it. So they're applying a search engine to this large database, and it's doing all the work of searching rather than you searching for the information. You give some instructions and then you just sit back and eat your lunch, right? And it does the searching and it finds the stuff for you. So we've moved from this metaphor of the book, where at least in the book there was an author that we could point to and criticize and say, I hate that author, or I love that author, and we knew who wrote it. But then we move, we move to the library, lots of authors, and then the interlibrary loan, which lots of authors, and then the internet, where we suddenly start to lose the authors, right? And then finally to a search engine and the LLM and the what is now known as AI, artificial intelligence, and they're doing the searching for you. So everything works on the idea of probabilities of co-occurrence with lots of data. And by the way, for those who are interested in second language learning, this is very much the way the brain constructs a first language and a second language too, right? It's calculating the probabilities of co-occurrence. Well, when you grow up speaking a language and you've just been bombarded, since birth, calculating the probabilities gets easier and easier and easier, and then you become a proficient speaker, right? About age 5, 6, you're already a native speaker, okay? With second language learning, we know how difficult it is to kind of do that again, but the problem is to learn to calculate the probabilities of co-occurrence. Okay, so this is what the LLMs are doing. They see patterns, they extract patterns, and then they can react according to this pattern recognition that they're doing. They're a simple predictor model, but I want to emphasize, we call it artificial intelligence, and this is to make you all feel better after the 1984 scare. It really doesn't understand anything, right? It is an artificial intelligence. There's no intelligence there. It is a symbol predictor model, okay, it just does it really well because it has gobs of data and it does it well. Okay, GPT-3 is free, and all the examples I'm going to be extracting out have come from ChatGPT-3. Free, that is to say that I just signed up for it, your students can sign up for it, and it works really well. I think I'm going to convince you of that. The database was stopped as of 2021. Okay, so that's what you're getting with the additional added data in 2022 and 2023 is what you're getting when you buy, it's not free, ChatGPT 4. And I'm sure, I don't know if 5's come out, but it's due to come out soon, and then there'll be 6, and then there'll be 7, and it's just going to get better and better. So this one's free. ChatGPT 4 is $20 a month. But this is free, and that's the one that interests me, because that means I can say to my students, go sign up. And do it on your lunch hour. Do it tonight. Do it this afternoon, right? And all of you can do the same, okay? Now, one thing that's good about ChatGPT 4, I'm just gonna, it's a footnote, is that it carries out instructions a lot better than ChatGPT 3. So that as I give it instructions, it's like supercharged for instructions. You know, they've been adding things to the program, and so that's what you're getting with the $20 a month. You're getting a better response to your instructions. And you can even say to the darn thing, I've written these instructions, but they're not very good. Would you rewrite it? And it'll rewrite you the instructions for you in a better way. A more ChatGPT way. A way that will be more productive. Okay? All right. Are we interested? Yeah. All right. Okay. On Facebook, you'll find this ad. I think it's an extremely clever ad. It's by the company MakesYouFluent.com. And they're hyping just about all the affordances that I'm going to be hyping to you. When I saw this, I said, wow, this is really clever, because they're saying, look, you can have your favorite conversational partner, but she's really a machine. You know, it's a very clever ad. And what does she promise? Prepare yourself for a range of thrilling, well, with her it could be thrilling, language activities that transform the way you learn, in this case Spanish, but they have it for all languages. Immerse yourself in role-playing scenarios, right? That's one thing you can do. Vocabulary quizzes, grammar drills, explanations. Our AI tutor has covered everything with personalized lessons. Yes. So what you're getting out of ChatGPT is, I'm going to put it in the applied linguistic language, infinite input at the I+1 level. You can tell it what level you want to interact in. You can actually give it a list of vocabulary words and say, limit yourself to these vocabulary words. Right? It's just all on how well you write the instructions. It truly is individualized instruction, and I call this a digital conversational partner. So what does it do well? Morphology paradigms. For instance, if you ask ChatGPT how to form commands in a particular language, how to form the subjunctive, how to form whatever, how to form the plural of nouns, Arabic. Okay. It'll correct sentences for you, syntactic corrections. It'll give you explanations. You can ask it, is this sentence correct? And if not, why is it not correct? It'll give you the explanation and everything. You can ask it for domain-specific vocabulary. You can say, hey, I need to go to a butcher shop, a charcuteria in Spanish, and I need all the vocabulary that's necessary in order to function in a butcher shop. Would you please give it to? Boom, you got it. You got all the vocabulary. You can ask it usage questions. You can say, when do I use a particular tense? Here I've used an example from Spanish. In the past, there are two pasts. One is continuous, the other is punctual. So the preterite and the imperfect, and it'll give you an explanation. And if you ask it for examples, it'll give you examples. And then if you ask it for a quiz, it'll generate a quiz. It'll do all of this for you. You can ask it pragmatic issues. How do I politely ask for a beer? And it really knows culturally how to ask for a beer. It won't give you just a, what you imagine is an incorrect Google translation. No, it gives you a culturally accurate translation of how to ask for a beer. It'll talk about cultural issues. I'll give an example of this a little bit further on. But for instance, taking a walk in Spanish in Latin America is not the same as taking a walk in the United States. There's a different concept about taking a walk. And I'll show you what kind of information it gives you. Personal advice. How do I talk to people in a bar or whatever? Role playing. I'm lost. I need directions. Would you role play with me? I'll be the lost one. You be the found one. Okay. It'll create customized readings. Write me a story about, you give the theme, X, and please use 500 words, the 500 most frequent words. It has its own idea of what are the 500 most frequent words. Because remember, behind all of this is a huge database. All it does is calculate right away the most frequent 500 words in your language. This works in all languages. It will generate exercises of all types, and it will also generate quizzes, and it will generate the quizzes with or without the correct answers. You just have to tell it. It should be giving you I hope some of you are saying, geez, I don't need McGraw-Hill anymore. And by the time I finish, I'm going to try to augment that idea, because there's other tools that go along with ChatGPT that are using AI that really make McGraw-Hill not needed.
Do you think we should use ChatGPT?
Yes.
That's the whole idea.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to advocate here.
And
Because-
can I start tomorrow?
Sure.
I mean, this is like,
You can start tomorrow. You should start now, undoubtedly, with, especially with 3. You're going to find things that you're not happy about, okay? So you have to learn to navigate around those things. You have to learn to write your prompts better and better. The better you write a prompt, the better result you will get, okay? And some people are really good at writing prompts, and some people need to still learn. But as they say, it's the prompt, stupid. It's the prompt. That's what's important. Okay, this is a translation of a dialogue that I had with ChatGPT in Spanish. And I just said, give me directions. So I translated it in English for this presentation. It may not be a great translation. I did it fairly fast, okay? But the Spanish, I can tell you, was perfectly authentic sounding, perfectly correct. Very, very good Spanish. So this is, well, person A, excuse me, can you help me? I'm looking for this street Juan de la Cruz, but I'm a little lost. Sure, I'm very familiar with this area. Which number are you interested in? I'm looking for number 25. All of this was generated. It's all generated. I asked it to generate a conversation about a person lost and a person who knows the area. And it generated all of this, right? So I could ask students to do similar role-playing, generate the dialogues, and study the vocabulary, and all of these kind of key words are the key words that you need for this directions, the vocabulary of directions. I don't know, I started playing around and I said, look, I'm going to a bar, I want some pickup lines. This is what it gave me. Hi, mind if I sit down here? You seem to be having a good time. I would like to meet someone new and interesting tonight. I don't know if that's going to work.
That's creepy.
There's some pretty, you can look through it. I mean, but you can imagine some other situations. Obviously, I've done this for humor, right? And I'm not planning on using these, but just think of the lesson you could develop around showing these, and then ask your students to critique why these aren't going to work. What is missing? What would you put in? And boom, you have the students engaged in something that really is important to them. Okay, here's one case for pragmatics. How do you politely ask for things? Well, it gave me all of these possibilities, which those of us in Spanish would say, it looks like it's time to teach the conditional tense, right? Because all of these use the conditional. There are other ways to ask politely, but it is a particularly good strategy in Spanish. And these are all different. And some of them are extremely interesting. This one is, would you care if, this is very important in Spanish, we use this a lot. Te importaría, you know, te importa. So there's a lot of material here to pull out. Do it in your own language and find out what you get, right? And then use your experience to tell you how to make it better. Here's one where I said, okay, I'm going to write the prompts. So here's the first prompt. The prompt tells the students to put in and find equivalents for these words. Okay. Nausea, pain, stool, heartbreak, diarrhea, heartburn, acid reflux, constipation. In my own life, learning how to say correctly diarrhea was very important, because when I had it and I went in, I mispronounced it and they couldn't diagnose me and couldn't give me anything. So it was a very embarrassing moment of my life. And then I learned how to say it correctly. And it seemed like it was only one vowel. Why were they being so stubborn? It was only one vowel. Ah, but vowels are important in Spanish. More important than consonants. Okay, ask ChatGPT to role play as the doctor, and then you ask the questions about your help using these words. Okay, so this is an assignment for home, right? We're going to do something in class with it, but this is all preparing and having them do homework. This is homework. Okay, after studying the doctor's questions, choose one of the symptoms as your primary medical problem. Ask your doctor, ChatGPT, for a remedy. Okay. Now, write up a medical report, but from the doctor's point of view. So who was the patient? How old were they? What was their weight? Gender, everything. Their symptoms. What did you recommend? Then you could say, okay, now let's do an exploration. With ChatGPT's help, let's design a diet with little grease, fried food, acid foods, hot spices, and to minimize the effects of acid reflux. After you've done that, let's have you give an oral report on that in class. Report on that in class. Everybody can have a different symptom, right? You can have acid reflux, somebody else can have some of the other unmentionables there. Okay, I'm sorry, this is hard to read, but it's to illustrate a point. I took what was a topic from AP Spanish, which is families and communities, and I gave it those words, and I told them to generate a reading using those words and the topic of families and communities, and then to generate follow-up questions. It did it all for me. Right? It generated all of this. Okay? Sorry, it's in Spanish. I didn't translate everything. Now, I also said, talk to me about the differences in taking a walk in Spanish-speaking countries and in the United States. And so this is what it said. All right, duration, socialization, and time of day. Going for a walk in the English-speaking world implies a long planned route, usually parks, pathways, or other natural settings. In the Spanish-speaking world, taking a walk is shorter and might only imply going around the block. All of this is true. Socialization. In the Spanish-speaking world, while taking a walk, the social activity is carried out in groups, so you can talk and socialize at the same time as walking. That's not how we do it here in the United States. Everybody's all serious, they're all quiet, and they're all running, and they're not looking around, they're just, they're sweating, right? That's what it says. Walks are done individually or as couples with the focus on personal exercise or meditation. All of that is true. Time of day. It's common in the Spanish-speaking world to go for a walk after dinner. El paseo de la tarde, right? About 6, 7. In contrast, in the English-speaking world, going for a walk can happen any time of the day. Right? There's some good material here. Right? And you can, obviously, you can have students disagree with you, but this is going to stimulate some good talk. Now, how to write prompts. Because as I've said, writing prompts is where it's at. Well, I've given a try at this. The first one is, okay, ask ChatGPT to imagine a conversation between two friends. This is the odd couple. Oh no, excuse me. This is the odd couple. I'll start here. So here's imagine a conversation between two roommates, Oscar and Felix. One that likes to clean, one doesn't. Study the conversation, be prepared to play either role in class. So this is homework again. Another one here is you have two friends. One wants to invite one friend to a party, the other person has to refuse. Well, refusing has its own implications in different languages. There are protocols for refusing. It's not just, no, I don't want to go. That won't function, right? You need other stuff and other considerations, cultural considerations. So you'll get that as you start exploring this. And this one, I wrote a prompt, and then I gave it to ChatGPT, and I said, and this is only the 3, I think 4 does it even better. And I said, would you rewrite it, make it better? So this is what they came out. Seek advice on stress management techniques as a student, and then compose a brief essay sharing personal strategies that have been effective for you in reducing stress. That's what it wrote for me. Okay, I can't remember what I wrote, but that reads very nicely. Okay. Your wish is my command. It's as simple as this. We're in ChatGPT. That's how difficult it is. All right. That's how difficult. Now, anyone could come up here and type in. You could type in Arabic right now. It'll respond in Arabic. You could type French. You could type German. You could type Spanish. Whatever you want, it'll respond to you. I just wanted to show how easy, how simple it is to log on to ChatGPT. I have other things. I'm trying to encourage you to do this, all right, tonight. All right, now I'm going to kind of go into more bells and whistles. So far we were just working with text, okay? But in the future, these things are going to start to be bundled, and they're going to be bundled with programs that take the text and turn it into speech. And this is coming really fast, and these are programs that you'll end up paying for, and I usually don't like to spend too much time talking to you about products that you have to, actually inscribe, subscribe, and end up paying. But some people will enjoy working with them. This Murph is kind of an interesting thing. It allows you to put in the textual input, and then it gives you I don't know, about 120 accents for everything that you're doing. So I just was playing, this is really kind of silly, but I wanted to illustrate it. So I put in a dialogue and I'm just gonna...
Hola Robert, ¿cómo estás?
All right.
¿De dónde eres?
That's clearly a Latin American accent.
¿Viste mi mensaje acerca de salir juntos en una cita?
That's a Spanish accent from Spain.
¿Recibiste mi mensaje acerca de salir juntos en una cita?
That's a Latin American accent of some form, but they have a lot of accents. This is going to get better and better and better. In Arabic, this could be crucially important.
Yeah, the dialects.
Crucially, the dialect. So anyway, I'm not going to spend too much time with that. I just wanted to give you a taste, okay? This other program, this DID, what it'll do is take a picture, and you can actually show your own picture, but they have faces that they've already bought, so to speak, right? And then what ChatGPT will do is take the image, and it will manipulate it according to the text, and the lips will make the movements, okay? You have to subscribe to that one. And it's kind of neat. This is all coming. It's here. Some more bells and whistles. There's a program which, if you haven't used it, you should. It's called DALL-E in English. DALL-E. DALL-E, right? From the artist. That's what they're trying to market. And what it allows you to do is search pictures. So let's say you're illustrating your very own textbook and you want a picture of this, that. You don't do the work finding it, just say, find me a picture that does this, and it'll give you all kinds of options. If you're not satisfied, keep looking, get me, you know. So what I did was just say, hey, I want a picture of a paella and the ingredients that go with it. We're talking 5 seconds here. Boom, boom, there it is. Now I could grab that and put it in my quiz, put it in my materials. I mean, you see what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to stimulate you and indicate how you could use this to develop materials, very interesting materials for your own classroom. So really check out DALL-E. It's quite powerful. There's another one. I didn't play too much with this one because again you have to sign up. It's for money, but it's called AI in Video I/O, and what it'll do is you give it the text and it'll create a video for you. So let's say you're teaching the Spanish Civil War. You give it the text you want. It'll go out, find the images, put them all together and make a little video for you, a video presentation. It'll do it for you. Talk about cheating for professors, right? Now I'm going to show you some of conversational partners that are starting to emerge in the industry. And I'm not advocating these at all, but I just want to show you where the industry is starting to trying to find a niche. And again, I guess my point is, as language teachers, if we just completely ignore this development of ChatGPT, we're going to fall behind. And we're going to really look backward. So what you want to do is you are still the teacher. You still have the expertise and you have the experience. But why not incorporate some new tricks, some new tools? And so then you're with it, right? So some of these programs are trying to, it's fair to say, replace us, right? And this would be, Carlos is kind of it's like Duolingo, but with AI behind it. So let me go look at Carlos. Regular, muchas gracias. ¿Podrías hablarme un poco del verbo ser?
Claro, el verbo ser es uno de los verbos más importantes en español. Se utiliza para hablar de identidad, características y profesiones. Por ejemplo, yo soy estudiante, él es alto, ella es guapa. ¿Tienes alguna pregunta en particular sobre el verbo ser?
Okay, so I could be talking for hours. This works in lots of languages. All I have to do is switch the language right here. I put in Arabic and it does Arabic, put in German, put in French, it does all of these, right? And they, in addition, they have classrooms, and in the classrooms they have canned lessons all set and ready. There's a lot of materials here. It's interesting. Now, I have a friend, Scott Payne, who is of our profession, and has come here several times to give talks here in the Davis Language Center. Well, now he's got his own independent business, and he's trying to take ChatGPT and all of those other bells and whistles, combine them all, and create his own type of digital companion. And one of the things that he has, his company is called Mitabi, is this market that you see here. You already hear the theme music in the background. Okay, so there, I don't know if it's visible to everyone, but there's various vendors all through the market. So every time I move my avatar and get near a vendor, the vendor will engage with me and ask me appropriate questions. Now this is under development, and so it may break on me. You know, they're still working on it. You know, they haven't launched it yet, but this is a view of the future, you know? So let me go up to the ice cream man, because I'm feeling like I want an ice cream. Here I got my power walk here.
Helados. Compre sus helados.
Hola, ¿cómo está usted? So he's thinking.
Está helado.
Hola. Bienvenido a mi puesto de helados. ¿Es tu primera vez en el mercado?
Sí, es la primera vez en el mercado. Quiero un helado.
¡Qué emocionante! Me alegra que hayas decidido probar uno de mis helados. Tenemos varias opciones. ¿Prefieres un cono o una copa?
Okay, so now he's trying
¿Y
to sell
qué
me an
tamaño te
helado.
gustaría?
Okay, there's a little bit of lag time, and that's because we're dealing with an experimental system that hasn't ramped up yet to commercialization. And as you know, students, no one, even us, we're not going to put up with too much lag time. Okay, and that's why when you go and try GPT-3, you're going to find that text-wise, it responds very, very rapidly, extremely rapidly. You're not going to get through it. So I could go on. There's someone selling meat. There's someone selling clothing. But you get the idea of where this is going. So what you just saw, whether you realize it or not, is it's also doing speech recognition right on the fly. Okay, and that's difficult. And they're also set up to handle speech recognition with less than perfect accents. Okay, so the program is also kind of generating, you know, how much perfection of your Spanish. And I've seen the back end where it gives a rating, you know, when you say something, and if it's really well said, it'll be 100%, and if it's not well said, it might be 60. You know, so okay, it's got everything. He's trying to put it all together in one fluid learning system. Okay, not there yet, but coming in soon at a theater of your choice. Okay, so as I said before, it's the prompt, stupid. It is the prompt. Knowing how to write good prompts. This is starting to generate outside of our little cocoon here, the UC Davis, lots of interest. You can see EDUCAUSE is already offering seminars in writing prompts.
Just writing prompts.
Just writing prompts. By the end of this learning lab, you will have gained practical experience and strategies, engineering prompts that support your goals for using AI technologies. It's the prompt. You have to know how to write good prompts. And you can't say things, for instance, to an AI entity like, how do you feel today? It'll say, I'm an AI entity. I don't have any feelings. Right? Okay, if you want some other links of things that are going on, there was just an IL workshop. The IL Association is the Association of Language Lab Directors. And IL just had a workshop on AI with Noemi Rodriguez. And if you go to the IL webpage, you'll be able to find it. Or if you get from the PowerPoint from me, this is a link here and you'll go right to it. It's a really long address. UCLA has an event coming up November 6th. I'm going to tune into that. It's a Zoom event, and it's going to be on AI pedagogy and research. So I'm interested to see what our sister university down in the South is doing. Everybody's getting into this, so we should. And the Berkeley Language Center just had a talk by Joel Walsh, which was really more, how does this work, less on pedagogy. So I personally was a little less interested in it, but you'll be able to download it from the BLC, the Berkeley Language Center. I'm very interested in this one because they put AI pedagogy right in the title, so I think that could be very interesting. Okay, the secret of life. I'm going to give it to you. Change, modify, adapt, take advantage, innovate, and renovate. Get a bloody move on. Get some bloody sense and learn the bloody art of self-to-bloody-fence. Okay, it's time. Get your Davis Language Center directors to have some more workshops, I think, just on real practical about writing prompts. Maybe single language focus could be very interesting. So we're now teaching in a brave new digital classroom, whether you like it or not. There's no going back. There's no going back. We need to learn to write good prompts, and we need to learn to write prompts that avoid cheating. That's not so easy. I'm struggling with this still, because you have to avoid what is just simply a copy-paste activity. Right? So you have to really put some thought into how do I avoid that? Right? How do I use ChatGPT? The students use it. They get the information, but it's not just copy-paste. But there's some copy because, for instance, you want them to get the vocabulary. You want them to explore and get that vocabulary and maybe get the right grammar structures too. And you want to give them a certain vocabulary. You want to limit the size. You want to have a level, right? You don't want it to be too hard. So I haven't explored, but I think it's an issue, is just how good is ChatGPT at helping you write better prompts? That was just a prompt that I had it rewrite. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that one yet. But I would encourage you to give your students some of these pre-tested prompts. I wouldn't do a prompt that hasn't been tested yourself. Take it for a dry run. See what happens. But then make them practice before they come into class. And then they're ready to do stuff with this material in class. And you supercharge them with your activities in class. So, to the more ambitious language professor, Eventually, I think we're going to be writing our own materials and using this. This is a threat to the big publishing companies because you can get with Murph all the illustrations you want. I mean, there's just, the bells and whistles are not going to stop. The innovation is not going to stop. The genie is out of the bottle. It's not going back. So, let's have some fun with it. Well, thank you.
All right, Bob. Thank you so much, Bob. Now we have time for questions or comments.
Oh, so we're not gonna have a little.
Some music.
I can put on some music for
Wait
you.
a second, a little music too? That we can.
I can put some music
ChatGPT.
for you.
Bob,
Yeah.
I would like that you would go back to your first remarks because I thought that they affect us as literature professors because we deal with a lot of writing assignments, right? Papers
Yeah.
and things like that. But even for in our profession, right? We write articles for journals. So where does the ethical guarantee begin and end in this business here?
Well, I try to emphasize the idea of good judgment, but you know, those that want to cheat, and the human spirit is tremendously creative, they're going to find ways of cheating, right? You will probably at the undergraduate level pick it up.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
and there's
I
a whole
had that experience with.
and there's a whole question is, it's interesting to say, well, does ChatGPT have its own style? And that's an interesting question, right? Because it's an amalgam. You can ask it to write in a particular style. If you say, write in a sarcastic way, or what, it will do so. And it has the database to be able to do that. But you know, our imprint, our thumbprint for writing is based on the type of vocabulary and collocations that we use frequently. And you know, and that's the way Bob Blake talks. You know, you can investigate that. I don't know, bets are all off now with ChatGPT. I think things are going to return more to some type of a performance, an evaluation performance done in the classroom. I think that's one of the solutions. Now, at the graduate level, really, if you're copying at the graduate level, it's pretty sad. You're not going to get too far in this profession if you're copying. First of all, it's probably going to pop out at some point, you know. But it's a little sad. We're really worried about the undergraduate level, right? I think. Yeah.
There are a lot of folks here in the university writing program who are doing a lot of thinking and talking and writing about using ChatGPT in their writing assignments, and obviously they're writing in English, not in all these foreign languages, but there is a resource up on the website for the Center for Educational Effectiveness. They have a JITT, just-in-time teaching resource that's about AI and student writing, and so that might be a resource that you could check out. Again, it is about writing in English classes, but some of the principles would certainly carry over.
And also you have that, it's linked to that document that you created, all the resources.
Yeah, I have a document that I've been doing with just articles about ChatGPT, but not specifically about minor, they're not specifically about writing. But
Margaret, why don't you?
Yeah, do you want me to type it up in there?
Yeah, why don't you just type it right here and do it.
Margaret, could you just go to the general budget?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and you know the writing program's worried about this, big time. Yeah, so, you know, even if you have everybody sign a pledge, then what happens when the pledge is broken and all of that? You know?
So if you go to cee.ucdavis.edu, that's the Center for Educational Effectiveness. Erica is from there. And then under the faculty tab, and then under resources, there is this just-in-time teaching set of resources, and there's a whole bunch of them here. The AI heading has this one here, this is what I was talking about, is the AI and student writing one where they've got, anyway, lots of good information.
Excellent, thank you so
More
much.
to come. More to
More to
come.
come,
We're
yeah.
working on one on academic integrity and another on generative AI for multilingual students, multilingual writers, in particular on the affordances and limitations of multilingual students engaging with generative AI as a way of producing text in American academic English, which is what they're called to do most often, right? So anyway, stay tuned.
You know, like most tools, it's how you use them. So that's kind of, we're at the point right now where we really have to determine what are the best practices. What's the best way to use these things? It's critically going to come down to when you craft materials, the prompt. But then there's these larger policy issues that the institution has to grapple with, the society has to grapple with, you know.
Right, just one thing to be aware of, I've read about recently, is that there are so-called AI writing detector tools. Zero GPT is maybe the first one that was written, which purportedly is able to detect any AI-generated language in a document. But those don't work.
Right.
Those don't work. So we need to be aware that the false positive rate comes back 20–30%. I think someone even put the Bible through it, and it said that this was written by an AI. Part of it was written by an AI, or someone just wrote impromptu, not looking at anything, just text off the top of their head, and it said 20% of this was written by an AI. So those shouldn't be used, because we end up accusing students of something they didn't do.
That's
with
a really
no way
good
to
point.
prove it. No way to prove it either.
Remember, in a way, your head is an LLM, right? You're doing this all the time, and as I said before, we have real clear thumbprints, fingerprints from our writing style that we develop. And there's a whole branch of forensic law dedicated to tracking down using linguistic methods people who are copying and determining if some document was actually written by the person who, a will, for instance, if it was really written by the original author. And there are linguistic methods, but it's all looking at those probabilities of co-occurrence, because we have we have fingerprints.
Right.
I'm not so sure a ChatGPT in blank has fingerprints. It depends on what you ask it to do. I think it doesn't have fingerprints. So these programs aren't going to be, they're not going to work. Yeah. Still, look, we have considerable experience, at least in the lower division level, and we have considerable experience in the upper division level. And we know when something stinks. We know when something is not the student's work. You know. So, in that sense, nothing's changed, right? We've gotten these cases a million times. But I'm not going to dedicate my life, I suggest you don't either, to coming up with some foolproof method of trapping cheaters, because I don't teach cheating. So.
I was just going to report from the ground teaching German upper division literature at the moment, so third year, fourth year literature. And I haven't abandoned the at-home writing, but it's not worth anything. It's just practice, and I give, and any grammar mistakes don't count at all. And I just comment on the meaning, so on the content, something nice, what they were expressing. So they're, and also more personalized assignments, even when it's about interpretation. So they do write a lot at home, and they get the grade for completing the writing, but very, very low stakes. And then we have in-class essays, where you take the 50 minutes or the 100, what is the other, 80 minutes, write the other.
And we may not have to give up completely, because I think there are clever ways to get people to write at home and transform, right?
And that's the
so
other thing.
It's the transformation, so it's just not copy-paste.
Yeah, so can I give one more tip?
Yeah.
Same class, upper division German lit. So we've been dealing for 3 weeks with this very famous epic poem from the medieval ages called Nibelungenlied. It's like Beowulf in English. And so the assignment is to write, let ChatGPT write a summary of that Nibelungenlied thing, 200 words, in like B2 or C1 German, and then paste that into their document, and then they have to make it triple the size by putting in information that we talked about in class.
Well, see, that's a great one.
So I can see exactly what comes from class and what
That's
doesn't.
brilliant.
So, but
That's
they
brilliant.
they have a frame, right?
That's brilliant.
That's beautiful.
It
Yeah,
only
and-
works in small
And why
classes.
would we want to ignore ChatGPT when it's such a font of information? You know, we want the students to learn a language, to have contact with all of this. You know, we just also have to deal with the issue of cheating, assessment. That was really good. Yeah.
This discussion is great. It's also making me think of something that I didn't really see you touch on. When ChatGPT, I guess we can't be assured that everything ChatGPT creates for us or is going to tell us is 100% factually correct. The notion of what they call hallucination. When ChatGPT tries to give you the best predicted next word or paragraph, but it fills in the gaps where it's not sure.
Right.
You know, if it's true, it doesn't care if it's true or not. Actually,
It doesn't
you know?
care.
So have you found any cases, you know, especially when you were using it, prompt engineering to create materials, where maybe the explanation of the imperative versus imperfect was just slightly incorrect, or did you find that most of that wasn't really an issue for
I found, I haven't done an exhaustive probing, but I found the information was pretty good. Because the information they're drawing on, people like me inputted it into the web. So pretty, you know, I found it was pretty good.
Yeah, maybe
As you move up into, you know, interpreting literature, you could have some problems.
And so, because I did some
Yeah.
testing. I was writing a paper on literature in exile. And it happened that ChatGPT wrote that this particular author had been on exile in Europe. Completely wrong. He never left his country. So I was quite surprised. But in terms of the writing style and everything, I tried 3 times, was beautifully done. I was scared.
It's scary how
Yeah, and I was thinking, where is the notion of originality for the person who published a paper like that? It has disappeared, obviously, because...
Well, I don't think it's disappeared, but it's giving us pause for thought. Yes, definitely.
I think that's a great example of how ChatGPT would be used differently by someone who is an expert like yourself and by a student, right?
Yeah.
So you as the expert, you know that that's not true. And so you can make those corrections. The students won't necessarily know if the things are true or not, right? And so that could be worked into an assignment. I was thinking of the one that you were talking about with the, you know, so have GPT generate a paragraph for you and then you fact check it, right? Because you as the expert teacher, you know what's true or not. ChatGPT doesn't know, you know, as Dr. Blake talked about, it doesn't know stuff, it's just putting patterns together. And the students also are in the process of coming to know stuff, right? So they're not going to be necessarily good judges of whether what ChatGPT is. But if you play with that and even help the students to see that it's not generating accurate information, that might decrease their eagerness to use it because they're like, oh, it's going to lie to me and then I'm going to get a bad grade. I don't want to use this, right? It becomes its own deterrent when it gives them inaccurate information.
That's why we have to teach good judgment now as part of our curriculum.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say.
It's our business, you know, we kind of punted that up to now, but no longer. We have to teach good judgment as part of our business.
We need to teach them how to use it, just like we are learning how to use it.
Yes.
Remember with Arabic when Google Translate started, because Arabic is derivative, putting in 3 letters can give you 12 answers in English. And so I tell the students, well, first, of course, I was terrified of Google Translate, right? It's going to take over. And then I thought, No, okay, people, go to Google Translate and find the right answer. Like you said, fact check it, double check it, make use of it. So, of course, until today I was terrified of ChatGPT. Now I'm thinking, okay, I'm downloading it tonight. I'm gonna use it for homework tomorrow. But this is what I want to tell myself. It works for me. It's not going to take over. We had this problem when Xerox machines started in Egypt when I was an undergrad. They would not let us Xerox pages from the Encyclopedia Britannica because that's cheating. They wanted us to copy it down. This is how scared the system was. You can't Xerox. Copy them down, yes, because then you're learning, right? And now I'm doing the same. No ChatGPT because, no, how about we use it? The examples you gave us are amazing. Yeah. Can you please come back and teach us how to do a good prompt?
I'm retired.
That's an old one, we know this one.
Come el profesor extinguido.
We have a volunteer to teach that.
Can you teach us?
I can help with it. Yeah.
My job is to get people excited. There are going to be people from your ranks who are going to pop up and say, I want to give a workshop.
We have some collab ideas too.
Okay.
To extend your conversation.
Salvador.
Next word.
Sure.
As an undergrad, I feel like I don't have much to say, but I feel like as somebody who studies Spanish for language and literature, I feel like the important part of that is the fact that in the classroom you get more of that immersion experience, and ChatGPT can't give that to you. I feel like it can open the room to like beginning an analysis for literature if you're like kind of not sure what the reading is about, but it won't give you what is important to analyze. There's different aspects in the book that maybe a professor wants you to analyze, like formally or like etnographically or all those different contexts. So I feel like that's where you use ChatGPT to kind of create a general analysis and then use the classroom to be more specific on what to analyze.
Right. Absolutely.
So I'm coming from the TA positions. So until last year I used to teach languages and I would have a conversation with students on a daily basis, and then I would be able to tell like where the students is coming from and how well the person is doing in classroom, and then I guess I was able to tell a little bit about the assignments and if it's cheating. But now this year I'm teaching a different class. I'm not interacting with students on a daily basis. I only meet them once a week. And I don't talk with them regularly to know if the person's responses, like the weekly responses, assignments, are authentic. So yeah, that's kind of tricky because I'm also in the process of learning. So yeah, that's just a question. It's a good question. So yeah, if anyone has any answer to that.
Yeah, we need to learn so we can know how to manage it.
That's right. It's a new ball.
It is.
The thought I was having about like when we were talking about when it gives you wrong information, I think that also opens up a larger just conversation about, sorry you said it several times, but good judgment. Specifically just like fact checking your sources. Something I always talk, not always, but when it comes up, I try to encourage students to be like, don't just read something at face value and assume like that's what it is. Check credible sources. Does it come from CNN or NPR or iloveshoes.net? Just like making sure you're checking your sources and verifying them across a couple of different platforms. I think that when these questions about ChatGPT come up, it's a good opportunity to say, not just with ChatGPT, but when we're reading news or when we're reading and looking at research for our essays, we're always wanting to be doing this like cross-referencing of our facts and stuff.
Yeah, the game has changed because before you could point to the author of that book. Who said that? Oh, Noam Chomsky said that. Oh,
Okay.
or Joe Schmo. Oh, well, all right. you know? It's not the same. But now, if they're getting their information from ChatGPT or the internet in general,
Yeah.
basically the genie came out of the bottle with the internet.
Right, right.
All right, now what we just have is on steroids. It's on steroids now. And it's getting faster and faster.
On the topic of fact-checking, sort of, and the convergence with language, something that I've come to understand, but as a monolingual person, I have not experienced in using these tools, is that they are, there is a kind of white supremacy embedded in the tool. The training data that it uses is, there's a preponderance of English, there's a preponderance of Western quote-unquote languages, there's a preponderance of certain things, and so the tool is less good at things that are more culturally diverse and are non-Western. I don't really like that binary characterization, but like that's what I'm using now. So I think like when you're having students engage with this, having students fact check it, there's also an opportunity to engage them in much more like politically consciousness raising exercise as well. It's like whose language is benefiting from these tools, whose language is being, like whose art and identity and culture is being appropriated and kind of like commodified in a weird like mimicry kind of way for this tool. Who benefits from having your email address, having to log in with this? I would also say be very mindful of like requiring your students to surrender their data to a private corporation. It is like, that's tricky, right? It's a real tricky thing to make students surrender their data. Read the terms of service before you require students to.
Well, I'm certainly not suggesting that anyone surrender any data whatsoever. It's, you know.
Yeah, so, but I'll just say, like, there's rich opportunity also to be problematizing the data that these tools are trained on, the outputs that they produce, and whose interests are served by that, and what global histories that is drawing upon as well.
One of the actual positive things, though, about the internet is that other countries are participating in their own languages on the internet with materials, which no one can control. No one.
Right.
That's how it was designed. It was designed so it couldn't be controlled. It was designed by a bunch of geeks. They designed it for the military, but they designed the internet to be free, so that it could not be controlled. They just did it with military money. So, so far, you know, I haven't probed all cultural topics, obviously, but the ones I've probed seem to be pretty on target. You know, I'd be really interested to see all of you probe your favorite cultural topics and see how ChatGPT handles it. That would be interesting.
Thanks again. And I just had a couple of other sites that I've been playing around with that are like ChatGPT. One is called Claude.ai, Claude with an E.ai. I've heard it said that it is on par with ChatGPT 4, but I don't think I think it's still free.
Okay, Claude.
And so Claude.ai, very similar to ChatGPT. And then there's also ChatPDF, chatpdf.com, which allows you to upload individual PDF documents into your account and then have a conversation with that document. So it sort of skirts around the issue of hallucinating because it's locally bound to that particular document. You can ask questions. How does the author define this term? And then it'll say, on page 16, the author defines it in this way. So you can have a conversation with an actual PDF document as opposed to the entire internet database. So it's a little more focused.
You can also incorporate an article into your prompt so that you can say, all right, I want you to do a role play with someone using Michael Long's ideas of recasts that are found here, and feed the idea of recasts into it, and then it will deal with the student using that as a format, as a pattern. It's all in the prompt. how you write the prompt. It's a brave new world.
Well, is there any more questions or comments that anyone would like to share as we come down to the end? Yeah.
I forget your name.
Please. Oh, Erica.
Erica, what you said got me thinking about, again, I go back to when you're scared of new things. My dad used to tell me, don't read any translation of anything without checking, does that make sense or not? So, because I grew up, and I was reading the Bible in English, French, and Arabic. Totally different 3 Bibles. I don't know Aramaic, so God knows what did Jesus say. I have no idea if those 3 guys, and it's the same backwards with the translation of the Quran, because I know Arabic, and every translation is out there. Like, I don't allow translations in my house, because I'm like, you either read the real thing or it's ChatGPT. You have to judge. Oh, does that sound like Jesus or not? Right? I mean, judgment has to exist no matter what, now or earlier. I mean, publishers or reliable publishers are just people. Translators are just people. ChatGPT collects from actual people.
But it's really giving us a window to individualize things.
Yeah,
You know, in a way that we never could before.
it's like us with a good night's sleep, right? Relaxed and all there. I can't remember when that was. But, you know, because it gets all the information and puts it together, I'm sure. I mean, it's nice, because there's no way we can get there again.
And always available.
And always, well, yeah, we are.
That's with a good night's sleep, but never sleeping.
But never sleepy.
As
Yes.
a conversation companion, it's always available, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
That is wild. Thanks very much for your
Thank
patience.
you.
Please have